Hi, this is Mike Regan with Transact's 2-Minute Warning for the week of March 23rd. And in this week's 2-Minute Warning, we have a really important question for your company. How much worse is it going to have to get before your company chooses to act to protect its supply chain and freight cost? Folks, sorry for that cryptic question, but I have to share with you a lot of stuff's going on in the fuel market, which is why last week we highlighted the fact that in the span of 1 week, the price of diesel fuel went up by 96 cents a gallon. That was the highest increase since they started recording this information dating back to 1994. And the price of diesel has continued to go up. It's gone up approximately 19 cents in the span of yet another week. So the question that's on the table is, what is your company doing about it? Now, we've talked about the need for scenario planning, and we talked about some interesting things that your company could be and should be doing, especially in light of the fact that when we went back and checked some LTL carrier tariffs, we found that a month ago the price of the fuel surcharge was about 31%. Today, 1 month later, it's about 45%. How many of you predicted a 14% increase in your LTL cost? Now, are you just going to roll that through and either let it affect your bottom line, try to pass it through to customers? All sorts of things that you need to consider, but more importantly, there are things that you need to understand about that fuel surcharge. When your transportation rates go up by $1, it's not $1, it's right now $1.45. Lower it by $1 and you can lower it by $1.45. And that's why we've talked to you about why Transact is more important now than ever. And that's because we have the ability to help you lower your LTL cost. Now, if you're interested in lowering your LTL cost, it all begins with a simple call, an email, a calendar. Let's benchmark your rates, see where you're at. But more importantly, there are 4 things that your company could be and should be doing in addressing the fuel surcharge situation. On the supply chain side, with what the ocean carriers are doing and imposing all sorts of new and inventive fees to increase the cost per container, and the timing, there are all sorts of things you could look at to protect your supply chains. But none of that matters. None of that matters if you choose to sit on your butt and don't do a thing. And that's why we ask the question, how much worse does it have to get? Does the surcharge have to go from 45% to 60% or double? I talked to some people that are very familiar with the East, what's going on in the Middle East. Could price of oil go to $200 a barrel? It's not out of the question. If you're not using scenario planning, you're going to be left exposed. You're going to be reacting. Get ahead of it now. I talked to a senior executive. He said, Mike, watch what you were saying, but some of my C-level executives want to know where oil is going to be 6 months from now. I said, if you could predict that, you could tell them you weren't going to play the oil market. You're going to pick the stock market and make a ton of money. But there are some things that you need to do to make your C-level executives aware of what's exactly going on and how you can effectively manage in these turbulent waters. If you're interested, send me an email, give us a call. Let's get together with Calendar, because with each and every 2-minute warning, we're here to remind you, on your team, here to help, passionate about seeing you be successful. Thanks for your time.